Hello again, my friends. Welcome back to another Sunday, Family Sunday Arts Play. Today we are going to be making some swipey art. Now this swipey art is an experimental color mixing creation, one of my favorite things to do. My name is Sam. I'm going to be leading us on our activity today, so we are going to gather some materials and supplies before we get started. You're going to need some scrap pieces of cardboard. Now this can be any thickness of cardboard. If you happen to have the pieces that were included in the kit and you use them for the robot line printing, no problem. Just let that paint dry and you can reuse them, absolutely. You can also just snip off the tops of them if they got covered in paint, and that's okay. Anything goes. You're also going to need a paint mixing tray. This is very important. And you're going to need a paintbrush. Now we're not going to be painting with the paintbrush. We're actually just going to use the paintbrush for color mixing. So you'll see that in our step-by-step video in a second. And also a large piece of paper. Now the larger the better because it's more fun, but if you don't have a large piece of paper, that's okay. You can use regular size paper also, not a problem. All right, we're going to get our artist fingers ready to go. So if you are an artist and you brought your fingers, let's give them a little wiggle today. We're going to reach them way up high. Clap your hands together one time. We're going to put our hands in our lap and we're going to wait for our instruction. I'm going to tilt my camera over into bird's eye view and we're going to get ready to go for our activity.
So here we are, we've got all of our materials ready to go. Grab those pieces of cardboard, make sure you have your paintbrush handy. You want to have at least 4 colors of paint, so those are your primary colors plus white. Take your large piece of paper, and I like to tape it down because that's going to help me make sure that I can do my swiping without my paper wiggling and jiggling. Let's grab our paint tray and we're going to start mixing a few colors together. I'm going to start by making a nice pink color because pink happens to be one of my favorite colors. Once I mix my colors together, I'm going to use my paintbrush to dab on just a few little goopy circles of paint. A few little dabs of lots and lots of paint that I've pulled up off my paint tray and dabbed down onto my paper. I want my paint to be pretty thick, and now I'm going to start my swiping. Go ahead and grab your cardboard. Notice, swiping, we can drag that paint down along our paper and get some really interesting texture and some really interesting shapes and lines. Once you've done a few in this color, feel free to change colors at any time. Now on my paint tray today, I am going to keep mixing over and over into my paint tray to start to add different colors. When I add blue, I get a really cool mauve-like purple color. So I'm going to scoop and dab, plopping lots of juicy paint onto my paper. I'm even going to try swiping in the opposite direction. Now that I have the hang of it, let's keep mixing colors, adding them to our creation, and swiping them all over our awesome artwork. We're gonna let that dry, and that's it.
Wasn't that fun? All of those absolutely surreal colors that we were able to mix. I also love how when tempera paint dries, it dries slightly different than what it looked like when it was a bit wet. And I find that really interesting. That leads us to different types of transparencies, which means how much could we see through the paint and how thick or opaque or not see through the paint can be. I find that really interesting. I like that unpredictable nature of tempera paint. Now, if you were using acrylic paint, something you could look for when you're shopping for acrylic paint is whether or not it says the transparency or the opacity of the paint. So that can be a really interesting thing that you start to add into your paintings now that you're getting a little bit more familiar with using paints. I am very, very excited for next week. Next week will be our last week for Family Sunday for now. But I do encourage you, please join us for our last project. I think you're going to like it a lot. And we'll see you there. Thanks so much. Bye.